Staying with the current topic, and
Right.
when you mentioned mental health, there was a recent case that I definitely want to get your thoughts on.
Right.
That has been somewhat high profile,
Right.
obviously, and there's many that come out of this office.
Right.
And I think it's important to note that, I get a lot of the releases, and a lot of them, they're not high profile, but you guys are prosecuting and
Right.
really combating a lot of things out there. And I want to say thank you for that on behalf of our community. But specifically, there's been an uproar with the recent non-filed charges for the
Ezell Ford.
the
Yeah.
shooting of Ezell Ford, and who was supposedly, I think he suffered from mental illness and different things. But
Yeah.
there was sway. What can you share with the public? Because I think what I would present the question, or what many out there say, is, these cases, why not put it in front of a jury? Why is the DA's office being the judge and the jury, and they're not letting a peer of 12? And maybe you can bring more light into why these decisions are made and they're not going to trial.
To highlight and crystallize the question you just asked, because I do get that. Why not just file it and put it before the jury? If you were someone who was accused of a crime and the evidence was not there to support it, how would you feel if the prosecutor said, you know what, I don't want to take responsibility for making this decision, so I'm just going to file a criminal case against you and put it in the hands of 12 jurors and hope it works out okay? There is a threshold that prosecutors have to go through, which is they have to have enough evidence before they take away your liberty. Because remember, you're going to be in jail or in prison. You're going to be paying for an attorney during that time. Your whole life is going to be in the balance. Hoping that a group of jurors will come to the right decision, hoping that they'll get the evidence.
Yeah.
As prosecutors, before I file the case against you, I've got to be convinced that I have enough evidence, admissible evidence, to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you committed the crime. So applying that to the Ezell Ford matter, which was it was LA's toughest case.
Yeah.
It was, in terms of the national discussion, the way that happened. And he's, of course, not the first and not the only African American man who was shot and killed by the police. I had to look at the evidence, and the evidence, the physical evidence. We could argue that the police had their side of the story. And that there were witnesses out there who were in different places, who either heard or saw things. So in that situation, we default to, what's the physical evidence look like? What is it? And so in this case, the physical evidence supported that there was a struggle, a serious struggle over possession of one of the officer's guns. And it was occurring while these men were on the ground. And from the evidence the physical evidence alone that we looked at, it appeared that Officer Wampler, who was on the bottom and Mr. Ford was on the top, and they were struggling for possession of that gun. And it's supported by DNA evidence. It's supported by bruises and scratches on each man. It's supported by the fact that the gun had a magazine in it. For those of us who don't carry guns, a magazine has all the bullets. If that thing was ejected on the ground, there were nickels on the ground. The officer's pin that he wore was on the, LAPD pin was on the ground. There was a significant amount of physical evidence that indicated that there was a struggle for that gun. So, notwithstanding the stop, which I think we could argue about the stop, once there's a struggle for the gun, that really changes things, because you can't say to the officer, and the law doesn't permit me to say to the officer, you just got to get shot. You just got to have this guy take your gun and shoot you. And on top of that, I had another witness who heard the officer yelling, he's got my gun, he's got my gun. So I'm bound by the facts. I'm not bound by, I have to follow the facts. I can't, what people say, that is not necessarily evidence, right? And we fought long and hard to get a lot of evidence in this case, because I knew that this was important to the community. I wanted to get it right. I am by nature a cautious and careful person. In other words, I want to make sure I get it right, so I do a lot of research. I read myself. I read almost every document. myself. I don't rely on
Yeah.
summaries. And more importantly, my heart goes out to Mrs. Ford,
Yeah.
because there but for the grace of God go all of us.
Yeah.
And she wasn't there. So she's relying on what she hears in order to come to a conclusion.
And just